Hey guys, Steven here, Fanatic Perspective. This is a joint collaboration with my brother from another, Mr.
Yo,
Sharp Sports.
yo, what's
How we
good,
doing?
everybody? Yo, let's get into it. Let's get
We
into it.
got to. We
Yeah.
got to. So I wanted to talk about Deion Sanders. Prime time is heading out
Yep.
west to
Going to
Colorado,
CO.
University of Colorado.
Yep.
And there has been so much conversation. This is such a polarizing topic as he leaves Jackson State. I'm the HBCUs, and I'm an HBCU
I was about to say, I see
person.
you repping Howard. Yeah.
Yep, I got to rep my school on this
Yup.
one, of course. And there's you're so locked in the college football community
Mhm.
and covering, especially with recruiting and all of the things that fall under the umbrella of Deion Sanders and what makes this so significant and who Deion Sanders is.
Exactly.
Um, we got to rap about this, Marcus. We
Most
got to.
definitely. We have to.
Yeah. And so when you first heard the news, what was your takeaway? When you first heard this starting to happen and some of the things behind the scenes, and then ultimately seeing the news break that he's heading to Colorado, what was your immediate takeaways?
So obviously there has been rumors that he could be going to Colorado. I forget there was another school that was in the mix, but there was rumbling. I believe it was the Auburn job.
Auburn was being talked about, yeah,
Yeah,
for sure,
there.
and Cincinnati too.
Yeah, there was a couple of schools that were in the mix. Obviously, I saw him when he was coaching in high school, and then obviously moving to Jackson State. I thought immediately, like, my first immediate reaction was, okay, cool. He's doing what was expected to happen, which was to get Power Five conference schools' attention. Now, I didn't know how just decisively he was going to make a decision about moving up. Now, we can touch on this a little bit later because in past interviews he did kind of explain that this was the overall goal. But it was my immediate reaction was, okay, cool. He's got the attention of the Power Five schools. Now he stays another year or two, really builds it up, and then maybe goes and gets a real top five job, like and actually an Auburn or an LSU
Or Florida
or
State,
Florida State,
like,
like, shoot, going back to his alma mater, like, that's where I
exactly.
thought that I thought he was gonna wait to hold out for one of those jobs. So my first immediate reaction was, great, he's getting the attention that he deserves. I didn't think he was going to take it this soon. I mean, it's only been this is year three, right?
Been there 3 years, and he's already, they're back to back SWAC champions,
Mm-hmm.
and the scuttlebutt over who is SWAC, right,
Yeah,
and all of that, and it's serious. It means something to those schools and to those programs,
most
and I
definitely.
think where you just touched on was expectations. I think expectations are what is causing a lot of the controversy here because
Yeah.
Deion goes there and he, famously says, I was called to go to Jackson State. I was called
Yeah.
to go and help HBCUs and give. And one thing I want to make explicitly clear right now, he helped HBCUs.
Oh
There's no
yeah.
debate about
Oh
this.
yeah.
I'm tired of hearing people say, he giveth and he taketh and things like that. No, seeds were sown that can be
Exactly.
grown. Seeds were sown, and there's a harvest that can still come from all of the work that was done, not just by him, but by the staff, all of the people that he brought in,
Most definitely.
leveraging his profile, leveraging his celebrity, leveraging the fact that Deion Sanders is one of the greatest athletes of
All time.
all time. Okay, like, and yes, I am a Deion fan, but
That's undeniable.
I'm speaking here too from a standpoint of, like, one of the reasons why I love football growing up. I'm in my mid 30s, so I'm right there where I saw Deion Sanders as a player
Yep.
and hitting home runs for the Atlanta Braves and then returning kicks,
Yep.
and housing interceptions, right? And
Yep.
so, as a person, I've always seen this man thrive and be successful.
Most
I've
definitely.
always He's one of the reasons why I love football. He's
Mm-hmm.
one of the reasons why so many young black men were attracted to the sport because he was authentically himself. He is prime. He is prime. Yep. He brought that swagger, but again, the permission to be yourself. And now we have seen him recreate this as a coach.
Yep.
And connecting with these young brothers, right?
Showing it's okay to have fun and play football. It's not you can have fun while being serious about it.
Absolutely, man. And so I want to make that clear.
Most definitely.
I definitely think there's room, like you said. You just said you thought he'd be there a couple more years.
I thought at least he would do a full class, a full gotcha. 4 years. We're in the freshman. When y'all get out, cool. I thought at least the minimum would be one full class.
Do you think that where the criticism is coming in, because there's like a two Americas debate going on here right now. There's a debate. This is a polarizing topic within the Black community. There always has been between HBCUs and PWIs and the whole, dynamic there of, do you go to a quote unquote better institution with more resources, or do you do it for the culture and things of that sort, right? And so do you feel as though Deion, because one of the arguments that I think is real, we have to listen to this because it matters in the HBCU community. Do you think he used Jackson State as a stepping stone? And while, yes, he did good work there for the HBCUs, he, at the end of the day, took advantage of them to get back to the PWIs and back to that Power 5 level?
I would definitely say I think it is undeniable that he did use Jackson State as a stepping stone, but not in the way that people are trying to portray. He used it as a stepping stone for his coaching career, not for anything else. He has stated in interviews past, his goal is to be coaching at the highest level. He is here for the coaching aspect of it. And Jackson State was a phenomenal opportunity. It offered a unique opportunity. And the number one thing is he showed what HBCUs could be. And I think that the main issue that people are having is that nobody else is willing to step up to fill those shoes. Or those are tough shoes to fill, but multiple people aren't stepping up to fill those shoes. It's not like there aren't other qualified coaches, and if we want to get even more specific, other qualified Black former player coaches who could step into not only a Jackson State role. Jackson State's not the only HBCU. There are other opportunities for him to step in. He used it as a stepping stone to show what HBCUs could be, to show the recruiting talent that HBCUs could bring in, to show the amount of money that can be funneled into an HBCU. And then when he proved it was like a proof of concept. Now it's time to go do it at a bigger school. Deion Sanders isn't HBCUs. HBCUs are HBCUs. Deion Sanders just helped bring it back into the limelight.
That's a great point too, in terms of who he and you know what? At the end of the day, Eddie Robinson Jr., you have a point. He isn't swag. And it's okay to say that.
Yeah.
But it's okay also to say, like you said, he still came back and helped them, or he came there to help them, because inherently he is not. Deion Sanders went to Florida State, like you mentioned earlier, and his kids are going to go where he goes. That's obvious.
That's a good.
But I do think that in terms of what you mentioned earlier, in terms of coaches and players and people, look, if we look at HBCUs right now, Eddie Robinson Jr. being one. Fred McNair at Alcorn State, who is the brother of Steve McNair, is there as the head coach right now. And, I've gotten to know their athletic director. He's really cool. We've done some work together. And, my professional job and trying to help people in their football program, as well as their women's athletic program to, get jobs in tech. And I love innovative stuff that they're doing. So shout out to their AD down there. I know it's not, what's his name? The brother that went to Grambling that Hugh Jackson, right, is over there right now at Grambling. And so you have people, former NFL people. I know it's not SWAC, but Eddie George is at Tennessee State right now, I believe, as the head coach. That's a big profile person coaching there. We have people going there. The difference with Deion Sanders is he treated this like a royalty type program. He treated this, and what people don't understand is Deion Sanders was coached by Bobby Bowden and Florida State. And one thing that Deion took from Bobby and where they were very similar was they knew how to promote. They were salespeople. They're very outgoing. And Bobby Bowden built up Florida State. The Florida State that you and I know today was not that back in the 1970s. They were more like a Fresno State. Bobby Bowden, through promotion, through I'll play you anywhere, anytime, any field, all of that built up Florida State. Exactly. So it's a different mentality that Deion Sanders brought to Jackson State. Deion Sanders Jr. integrating social media. My brothers and I, a whole bunch of us have like an Instagram group, and more videos from Jackson State were shared because the thing we always complain about as college football fans is access. We always want access to our programs. And Deion Sanders understood, I am going to give people access to Jackson State. You will see everything going on.
Like literally they had, like, I don't know if you follow Travis Hunter's personal YouTube channel. Travis Hunter has his own personal YouTube channel. Shedeur Sanders and Shiloh Sanders both have their own YouTube channel. They have a collective YouTube channel. It's not specifically for the team, but it's the team's videographer who is showing you he's in the locker room. He has no problems putting cameras in there on the pre. Like he's like, now give me my theme music. Like you feel like you're a part of Jackson State. You don't need to be SWAC. You don't need to be an HBCU graduate to feel that. You feel like you're a part of something. Anytime that I would cover Jackson State or I would watch anything related to Jackson State, I felt like I was a Tiger. I felt like I was a part of that team. It felt like, man, like these are my guys, okay. Like I cared about what they were doing on a week in and week out basis. And that was because Deion said, open it up. He went there, putting all the kids' social media handles on their practice jerseys and just labeling it everywhere. He said, open it up, show the world who we are. And that's the biggest thing. And I feel like the reason why so many people are upset is because whoever comes in after that, they're going to try and bring this, this is exactly how we need to do it. We can't have fun. We got to be strict and we can't promote the same way. It's like, you can keep all that and still maintain a certain level of professionalism in your conference.
I agree. And I think you have to, from a transition period, I think that's where people are also being critical of Deion, is what was the plan for transition. We know that he wants to hand it over to some of his staff, but we also know that, and this goes into, again, the HBCU discussion of resources and money. Hey, my staff's underpaid. Hey, we don't have the same resources. We need to have buildings. We need to have weight rooms. We need to have facilities. NIL is now a part of this. What are our NIL collectives? Or if we're being serious, how can we be creative in the Black community, especially to make sure that, we're commanding whatever it is from TV revenue standpoint, advertisement standpoint, to get everything we need. They, like you mentioned with the jersey, they didn't even have names on the back of their jerseys at one point, and so who will carry forward that vision of building and promoting? And I think that's incumbent upon the community. I don't think that can be at one person's feet. And I think that's the problem. We look too much for saviors. And because people started to look at Deion as a savior and not just a overqualified resource, which he was, now we get into this point where the savior has let us down in the HBCU community and the Black community. And now where do we go from here? We don't have nobody else. Yes, we have resources. If y'all love Jackson State so much,
plenty of resources.
We have plenty. So there's no reason why. I've always said this before as a Howard person. I don't think it's, we play in the MEAC. So like,
Mm.
I don't think it's ever realistic to think that we can get to a point like I forgot who made this point the other day, but we're not even at the point of, just understanding the difference between HBCUs and normal FCS programs, not even
Yeah.
FBS,
Yeah.
just FCS programs. There's still a discrepancy there.
Mm-hmm.
I actually want to get to a point where, yes, the football programs are stable, our culture is present, and kids can go to these programs and be developed. The
Mm-hmm.
coaches can coach at these programs because they're going to be paid fairly, and the environment is there for us to thrive and have real Black excellence. That's what I want.
Most definitely.
However, if I do think in terms of if we want to uplift HBCUs, I always look at like, why can't we get basketball popping? Like, how we have Maker come to Howard, but that was one player and
Yeah.
COVID happened and it fell
Exactly.
apart. But if you think about 20, 30 years ago when the Fab Five goes to Michigan,
Mm-hmm.
if they had gone to Howard or Morehouse
Mm-hmm.
or Grambling, right, and done the same thing, how much money would they still be generating to this day because of the
National
run that they
treasure.
would have gone on anyway? And you just make sure you pay to make sure they have proper coaching.
Exactly.
Like, those are where I'm like, yo, in the Black community, we can funnel our resources together to at least do something like that
It's
and have real growth.
exactly, especially when you're seeing, especially in basketball. Football is a little bit different just because you do need to be there for 3 years, and you kind of have to pick you got to fit schemes and things like that. Basketball is a little bit more player oriented.
Mm-hmm.
We already kind of saw Mikey Williams, one of the top point guards of this upcoming
Flirt
class.
with it.
He was kind of talking about HBCUs. He was kind of like, shine a little bit of a light. The number one thing is you really have to just show these kids like, hey, like if you just told a kid like, hey, you know what? It's just in the beginning. We're starting this thing up. We're not gonna just 100. Like, it's not gonna be like LaMelo Ball in high school where we're just gonna be feeding you the ball and you're gonna be getting 100 points a game. But you'll be able to very effectively show off your skill set because you got kids going over to Europe playing against professionals. So I'm not gonna just call them out like that, but not the same level that they would be going up against high tier D1 talent or just sitting out. They're going out there and they're still being lottery picks. You had Ben Simmons go to LSU for 2 months, play a little bit of ball, and still was the number one overall pick. In basketball, you can just show like, hey, you know what? That year transition is really just for the rules. Most kids would still be coming straight from the high school to the pros if that rule didn't exist. Being like, hey, you could really give back to HBCUs. You could elevate your brand. Like, we'll get into a couple of ideas that we have as far as like how to continue this growth, because with the introduction of NIL, while obviously the big programs are going to be able to have the trust and the boosters help with that, most of these kids, especially from the basketball perspective, because you could see their face, you could see their personality, you could see their mannerisms, and it's normally just a few of them, get just literally every HBCU go buy 15 cameras and 15 stabilizers and just follow your players around. You will generate so much money. You will generate so much attention. You can have a weekly reality
Make
TV
it reality
show.
TV.
Just literally just getting eyes on everybody. And then you could put it behind a paywall. Go just be like, hey, $15 a month, you get access to all these things. Plus, for an additional $2, or you get all access to all live streams of basketball, and then for an extra $2 after that, you get access to all the football live streams. You could generate so much money through that, and you make it a tangible product. Like, I watched Travis Hunter's videos, but if that was behind a paywall, I also want to support HBCUs. Yeah, here's $15, and I also get all this other stuff too. There's people paying $15 a month for much dumber things, and they would have no issue subscribing to that when they're getting quality content.
And us as content creators, I mean, you know, many of us, I don't have this personally, but many of us have, whether it's memberships or Patreon accounts, like that is very common today.
Most
That's
definitely.
something that, you know, in any tangible effect, you can even have, you know, content that is free to bring people in, and then you have the more, you know, intimate things that are behind a paywall. Totally
Mm-hmm.
fine with that. The point is access, and how do we grow from here? There, who is the pioneer? Who are the pioneers to come forth in from a basketball perspective, where I believe, and you and I both believe, it is easier in that sport
Most
to
definitely.
create the same type of buzz and to take back ownership of so much of this stuff where our players used to be featured so long ago. Not to say that, hey, D1 isn't an option or anything like that, or
Yeah.
you know, but in terms of uplifting the HBCUs, and I picked Howard for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
I knew if I went to Howard over University of Maryland, there were going to be some challenges resources wise and logistically
Mm-hmm.
that I wouldn't face at a state school like the University of Maryland. I knew that.
Mm-hmm.
But I wanted to be immersed in the culture. I had family that had gone to Howard. Howard was home to me. It was, you know, we call it the Mecca.
Mm-hmm.
And I am proud every single day of my life to say that I was accepted and went to that school.
Yeah.
But I also understand the challenges and the things that hold other Black folks back from sending their kids to that school because of some of the resource challenges. And that's something that is a broader, larger conversation. And a lot of good people are doing a lot of work, but there's also a lot of corruption going on. Look, I'm 1 year removed from Occupy Blackburn. Those of you at Howard know exactly what I'm talking about,
Mm-hmm.
and the controversy that was happening there. So we have to. There's so much we have to clean up. Let's not put all of this heat and demonizing Deion for coming and going.
Exactly.
When again, we got to look at it like he sowed seeds. Now we got to harvest some of this stuff. I do want to move on to the next battle here,
Most definitely.
because now he's at Colorado, and there's like now a whole nother side of, well, he's not going to be successful, and you know, you have a lot of people who are I think Deion makes them uncomfortable.
Oh,
Are you
most
seeing some
definitely.
of those same things there with recently how he came in at Colorado?
I mean, anytime that you have somebody who is confidently confident in themselves and what they do and how they present themselves, and each step that they take looks like it is the most purposeful thing ever, you're going to rub people the wrong way. You're going to get people who are like, you need to tone it down. You're making people uncomfortable. That is the reason why he is successful. Why would he change now? Now that he's on a bigger stage, he's supposed to just be like, oh, I'm just really just thankful. I'm just going to just sit back and, just like, I'm not going to try and shake things up. That's the whole reason why he was able to succeed at Jackson State. It's because he came in, shook it all up, realigned it back the way that he wanted it to and he needed to, and then they were successful. He needs to do the same thing at Colorado. And if anybody expects differently or is demanding differently, you're just it's just simply not going to work, because Deion Sanders is he's not a pushover guy. Like he is coming in there, and I hope that Colorado's AD and the whole staff understands that when you are bringing a Coach Prime, you're not just bringing in one person. You're bringing in a mentality. You're bringing in a culture that is going to be felt immediately. Like wasn't like his first interview with the team pretty much being like, hey, a lot of y'all gonna have to hit the transfer portal because I'm bringing a lot of my guys with me. That's gonna rub a lot of
Yo,
people
he
the
didn't
wrong
say my
way.
guys though. He said I'm bringing my luggage, and it's Louis,
Yeah,
and it's
like,
Louis.
but like even with that, it's like if that rubs if when you hear that and your immediate thought process is, oh man, I really maybe I should hit the transfer portal. You weren't gonna survive there anyway, because he's going to demand excellence from you. He's going to get the most out of you. There's a reason why Travis Hunter went to Jackson State. He didn't go there for Jackson State. He went there for Deion. Now we can get back into the recruiting side of things and like what's going to keep
On
recruits
that
going there.
now. Let's touch on
But
that now, if you don't mind, before we get to Colorado exclusively,
most
because
definitely.
do you think do you think that, because I've seen a lot of people, and yeah, we all want to advocate for the kids. That's what this is all about.
Mm.
Do you think that he left the kids astray at Jackson State? How do you feel about that situation? Like you said, the last 3 seasons there, and you kept mentioning, hey, I thought he would get through a full class.
Yeah.
Um, when it comes to those kids, what are your thoughts there?
So as far as the recruits that were at Jackson State, so I looked up on 24/7 Sports, and I'm pretty sure all the recruits that were committed in 2023 have now decommitted, and I think it's quite clear Shedeur and Shiloh are going. I think Shiloh actually might be graduating, but Shedeur is definitely going to Colorado. Travis is just a couple of hours away before he ends up going over there. There's two statements that there's two feelings more so that I have. Yes, you're out of school. It's really tough already as a young kid to have to learn a college program, learn the system, also get used to college life. A lot of kids are moving away from their hometown for the first time in their lives, and so it's just a lot of moving. And so, yes, you went there for a specific person, and now they're gone. I do feel like a lot of kids are going to stay because, they fell in love with the HBCU experience. They fell in love with the coaching staff. They fell in love with just the program itself. However, the transfer portal is open. It's not an issue anymore. Like, kids can hit the transfer portal, and it's not going to affect their eligibility. They're not going to have to sit. They're not going to have to really do anything. They're able to hit the transfer portal openly. So is it going to be a lot of logistical moving? A lot of kids some kids may go from a starting role to a backup role at a different school. Some people might go from a backup role to a starting role if they end up transferring out. There's a lot of moving pieces, and so while I do feel as far as like the logistical moving of things, because every kid does have the option to hit the transfer portal, and if Jackson State is not the best, if they don't believe that that's the best space for them, they do have the ability to move. And so it's more so of a inconvenience kind of thing. I don't think that he necessarily abandoned any of the players because y'all can transfer to Colorado. Like, you can follow him to Colorado. It is more of an inconvenience thing. What are your thoughts on that before we talk about like future recruits?
Yeah, so I look at it from a standpoint of it's crappy and it's the crappy side of college football, but that's no different than when a coach leaves any other program. It's not unique to Deion, in my opinion. I understand where some people are coming from. Well, you let him, you brought him to the FCS level in Jackson State and blah, blah, blah. Like, people are like, that doesn't impact, like you said, Travis Hunter or the Kevin Colemans of the world who could still go. Some of those kids, will go to Colorado where he sees fit, or will have other options. But that's no different than at any point of any coaching transition. That is always to be expected when you are a college athlete, honestly. Like, unless he just directly told the kid, I'm never leaving and I will never blah, blah, then that's on between you and the relationship that you built. Yeah. That's a different thing. I will also say that Deion mentioned, especially over the last year and a half, 2 years, of having ambitions of going and entertaining offers. He has been transparent about that, at least publicly. Again, not in the locker room, don't know what he said behind closed doors, but we know publicly he has always clearly expressed interest, even going back to year one when TCU was mentioned.
I was going to say Florida State, there was rumors at the beginning of last year of him potentially moving up. Like, that's been a thing since day one.
And the kids know that. I mean, if you go and play for a coach on the rise, that is something to be mindful of, quite frankly. But it doesn't soften the blow any less. It sucks. It is an inconvenience. It is it's like musical chairs too. I mean, there's not, the ratio right now, if you look at the portal numbers, it's pretty crazy. The discrepancy
every day, just whoever you thought was, I mean, we just saw DJ hit the transfer portal. We saw Justin Flo hit the transfer portal. Nick Evers at Oklahoma hit the transfer portal. JT Daniels just hit the transfer portal from West Virginia's quarterback. Like, and those are mainly just
Spencer
like
Sanders.
high-profile guys. Like, there's so many quality role players that are hitting the transfer portal. that, which I'm excited about. I'm excited to see all the new faces and new schools. But
me too.
That is just the new college football. The transfer portal, coaches leaving, players transferring to different schools. That is just the new college football. It's not unique to Deion. I mean, okay, Lincoln Riley left Oklahoma to go to USC. He brought over not only his quarterback and his wide receiver one, he also brought in his next year's quarterback and wide receiver one from Oklahoma. Nobody, like, all right.
And you know what, though? And people were mad at
Most
Lincoln.
Definitely.
And that's part of the business. So again, I'm not any more mad at Deion than I am at or this year Luke Fickell goes from Cincinnati to Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Right. I'm sure there's kids on Cincinnati or Coach Satterfield going from Louisville to Cincinnati, and now all these people are decommitting from Louisville, and there is always this back and forth. I completely understand and get that. But the other thing too is HBCUs, and I will make this other point. Again, let's get our resources in line and get our structure in line so that we don't have this type of turnover. Maybe not for Deion's a little bit different. And he's a unique animal. As we said, he's one of the GOATs of all time. So that is different. But let's make sure that assistants are getting paid. Or if people are going up from the FCS to the FBS level, hey, we have a qualified high-profile offensive coordinator on our staff, or a QB coach or a DB coach, somebody that can take over, because we are also grooming our coaches at this level because they are well paid. They don't have to just go and take a job automatically on USC staff as quality control or whatever. They can go somewhere and get experience and get to work and develop those relationships as well. And that's something that has to be established again at the HBCU level from just a money standpoint, because the pay is not the same. So if you want higher quality, you have to pay for it.
Most
period.
Definitely.
We can't, I mean, yeah, we need some of the bigger people to come in and help things, but everybody can't take a discount, bro. Like that's not fair. But going to the Colorado side, SharpeSports, you got Colorado kids saying that, oh, he dropped me from he's not going to honor my commitment to Colorado because he's bringing in the Louis bags and we ain't Louis. Yeah. And so, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's that side of it too. Yeah. And people are saying, hey, he dropped me and didn't even call me or what. There's a lot of things being reported about that. Where do you fall there?
Again, like you said, it's a part of college football. It doesn't make the blow any less hurtful, but it also doesn't make it more painful just because it's Deion Sanders. Every single year when there's a coaching change, you're not one of my guys. I didn't pick you. Like, would you rather go to Colorado and just be the 19th string because I didn't bring you in? Or would you rather, maybe you have to go FCS because maybe Colorado was your only major program, but at least when you go to that other school, they're giving you a fair chance. Yes. Does it suck? Yeah. I really had my heart set on this commitment, especially with, National Signing Day is just a few weeks away. It is a little bit late in the recruiting cycle to be doing this. A lot of teams' recruiting boards are already filled.
Yep.
I will point that out. It is a tough spot for those Colorado kids who their commitment's not, because I could have went to Colorado or I could have went to ASU, but ASU, because I already told them no, they already got my replacement, and I can't go over there now. But if you were good enough to get an offer to Colorado, you were good enough to get offers to other schools. And, you got to make it happen. At the end of the day, you have to have talent to play at the next level. So you're going to have to show off that talent at some point. And so it's really just about finding the best program for you now. Maybe taking a year at a junior college and then go even getting a bigger offer than a Colorado. Like there are other options. It's not like Deion's like, yeah, I'm not honoring your commitment to Colorado, and then now you just can't play college football. It's not like you're just done. Again, it's one of those inconvenient things, but this happens every single year. It's just people are now deciding to make it this. vast over exaggeration because it's Deion and he's a little bit more blunt and blatant when he says things.
Two things. Number one, you're Colorado. You're 1-11. Like you said, y'all were terrible. And if y'all weren't so terrible, I wouldn't be here right now. We wouldn't have to be going through all this change. And your recruiting class, unfortunately, they had a lot of players in their recruiting class who their one Power 5 offer was Colorado. Like they weren't recruiting at a very high. And I know that sounds really harsh, but this is a business where he's getting be paid, I believe, $5.6 million a year or somewhere in that ballpark to be coaching. So I can't afford to mess around with the 1,200 ranked guard in the state of Texas. I'm sorry.
Exactly.
And I know, hey, okay, people are saying, oh, that'll rub Texas coaches the wrong way. Yeah, I'll have something for that in a second. But the second thing is this. Deion Sanders at this level, and this goes, so we talked about, I made the Two Americas thing. We had all the HBCU stuff. But now that we are at the PWI Power 5 Colorado level, everything Deion Sanders does will be looked at with a microscope. And that's one of the reasons why we have so few Black head coaches at this level, especially when you consider the ratio of Black players. Yeah. So everything he does will be, and this is where my concerns come to light. Because if you notice, they never brought up prime prep and the disaster and the compliance issues and the UIL issues.
You took the words right out of my mouth.
That was never brought up with Jackson State.
Yep.
But as soon as I start getting looks for TCU and Auburn and all these schools, like I heard people mentioning his issues with prime prep and all of the problems they had, and that was a disaster. Nobody's sugarcoating that.
Yeah. But
I heard everybody bringing up prime prep there, but y'all are willing to give Hugh Freeze another chance and excuse all that BS. That's what's fascinating to me.
I mean,
that's what's fascinating.
That's the thing. We're always going to be held to a higher standard, and that's why I said earlier, I really hope that Deion Sanders and Colorado's AD are lockstep. What he is going to do, I would like it. I don't think he's going to do what he did at Jackson State, where he immediately steps in and they start going undefeated. Because the amount of power and pull that he had, yeah, you bring in a couple 5-star kids and you coach them up a little bit better, you're going to start going undefeated at the SWAC level. That you can have a very immediate impact within 3 years. At Colorado, it's not going to be the same thing, especially because I believe that Colorado, Oregon, and Washington are also thinking about going to the Big Ten. Obviously, whether they go to the Big Ten or the Pac-12,
but even the new look Pac-12, just say the new look Pac-12.
Even with the new look Pac-12, they're still going to be at the bottom. So yes, are they going to get a recruiting boost? Of course they are. Are they going to get a huge transfer portal boost? Of course they are.
We've heard record numbers already for the portal.
The AD needs to let Deion be Coach Prime. There can't be this is not how we do things at Colorado. The things you were doing at Colorado were losing annually, year in and year out. That's what y'all were doing. He's coming in there to mix things up. He's coming in there to win some games. Do you want to be in the Pac-12 conference game? Clearly, we got to do something different. What you have been doing hasn't been working. He's going to bring a swagger there. He is going to bring a different level of tenacity and energy, and he's going to be stepping on people's toes, and he's going to be rubbing people the wrong way. But really, all he's doing is stepping on their toes and rubbing them the wrong way to get them out the way so that they can start winning. At the end of the day, what's more important? Keeping your 2% of your fan base that is about tradition and this is how the Buffs do it, or do you want to start winning and start bringing some more money into your school? You're not paying them $5 million to keep on a losing streak. You're paying them $5 million so that you turn into $50 million a year, filling up those seats, selling concessions. Things have to change, and you have to give him the space to do that, and you have to give him the time to do that. I see an immediate. I mean, it's very easy to go up when you're 1-11. I see them probably being 4-6-ish win team next year, probably getting a late bowl bid. And then we'll see how things go from there as he gets a full recruiting class underneath his belt, as he starts being able to have a little bit more pull and a little bit more reach with kids. I mean, saying come to an HBCU is a hard sell. Saying come to the Pac-12, it's a little bit of an easier sell.
I want to see too, so in terms of Colorado fans boost, the energy is always high when a new coach comes on board. We're talking about generating money, what it takes for NIL. One thing that Deion will be very upfront about is access. Again, how we built up Jackson. We saw the entire meeting with the team on camera, all of us.
Every last second of it.
Every last second of it, to the point where he even says somewhere in there, if you have a problem, you can address it right now. We don't need to do it in the locker room.
Yep.
So having that already laying the groundwork with a bigger scale of people and the town and city of Boulder, this is going to be now. What I hear people say, oh, is he going to turn into a HBC? No. Jackson State and the sonic boom of the South and all that is them. That is Jackson.
He just amplified what they already had. He didn't bring that. He just gave them a megaphone.
Thank you. But you can be a passionately loud, energetic fan base anywhere. And so I think that's more of channeling. It's not just like, oh, we're going to play hip hop. We're going to have all these maybe for the kids and the players, sure.
Yeah.
But in terms of what our culture is a university, as you said, amplifying what we are, having a brand of excitement. There's no reason why you can't be just as excited as LSU people are. That is there are predominantly white programs that have energy and are excited and it's lit and the whole bit. You can recreate that and do it and amplify it their way if you're trying to win. Now, the other thing is I would like to see him get, and this is to your point with the AD, they're going to need to have a very strong compliance officer or office of people, because winning at this level of college football, you have to push the lines. One may call it tampering, another person may call it we trying to win. All right. And so I'm just trying to keep it a buck right now.
This is what goes on in real college football, people. If you didn't know,
everybody's doing it.
I'm sorry. We're gonna pull the curtain back and we'll show you what's really going on over here.
I need a compliance officer to protect me. Just like if I'm in the mob, I need a good lawyer.
Yep.
I need a good tax guy, right? and Deion is going to need strong compliance, not to tell him no, but to make sure that we can color the lines here. Again, knowing that people are going to be on his ass with a microscope. Period. It's literally already happening.
You make one mistake, and that's going to be the news on ESPN for 4 months.
When people say preying on folks' downfall, I am seeing an energy right now. Like when people come out and you get a new job and people are like, ugh, he's going to fail miserably, epic failure. That's an energy that a lot of other dudes don't normally get, bro. And you know where I'm coming from with that is not a normal, even like Lincoln Riley is different with OU fans. That's personal, right?
Yeah.
That's directly personal. Or but Brian Kelly didn't get that energy from Notre Dame fans going to LSU. Hell no.
Not even a little bit. They're just like, I didn't even know Brian Kelly was our coach. Okay. On to the next one. Who's the next guy?
And they got Mark, and they left behind Marcus Freeman. It's a great program, but it's a different energy and pointing to the demise. Now Deion has to also understand I got to be on point, and I like what he's doing with the staff hires, with the coaches. I'm hearing, having, Willie Taggart just got let go from FAU, having him, but just having a former head coach on staff. You're hearing about Kent State and Coach Lewis coming over to be the offensive coordinator. There's been Tim Brewster, who has been one of the best recruiters of the last 20 years in college football who was with him already at Jackson State coming over to Colorado. Mike Zimmer coming from back there, who was an NFL head coach. That's credibility on the staff, right?
Most
So if I
definitely.
have Mike Zimmer on defense, I got Coach Lewis on offense, I got super recruiters on my staff. I think he's building it out the right way, because at the end of
Most
the
definitely.
day, when you look at the energy that was given towards one Jeff Saturday going and taking over the Indianapolis Colts and getting a head coaching job in the league, who is another NFL Hall of Famer.
Yep.
His job, they described it as he's here to motivate, inspire the team, and hold them accountable and hold the staff accountable.
Yep.
Well, why can't I look at Colorado the same way with Deion?
With a more qualified candidate.
And he's more qualified.
Like a way more qualified candidate. Why can't that be the thing? That's where, honestly, where people who have that issue, that's not even a thing that we have to discuss. That's something that you have to discuss with yourself. Like, why is it that he can't just be, even though he does know how to run the offense and run the defense. He knows what he's doing. You don't get to the Hall of Fame level just kind of knowing, just running around.
No, he knows ball.
He knows his X's and O's, but then he also knows where he lacks, and that's why he does such a great job of making these hires and bringing in the help that he needs. He doesn't need to be Bill Belichick. He doesn't need to be a Sean McVay. These like all-time status. He needs to motivate, uplift, coach where he needs to, great with the recruits and great with the players, and just let him do his thing. If you can't let him do that, then that's a personal question. That's not something that we even need to discuss. That's on y'all.
The last thing I want to say in regards to Deion, Marcus, is it is okay. You can have selfish goals or goals for oneself, and also be uplifting others.
Most definitely.
You can do more than one thing, and I think people are getting fixated on all sides of this.
You're blessed to be a blessing.
Thank you. Say that again, please.
You are blessed to be a blessing. You are blessed. You are blessed with the positions that you're in. You're blessed with your talent. You're blessed with a lot of things to be a blessing to others. You don't need to lessen yourself to uplift others. I forget. There's like the high tide raises all ships, or some
rising tide raises all ships. Yes, sir.
And he is a whole tsunami. Hey, he's a whole wave. He's gonna lift everybody up, but he also gonna keep on getting a lot higher. And so that's
why I am rooting for him so hard to have success, because while I'm not putting all of the burden of black coaches on Deion Sanders, let me make myself clear. I know he said he wanted to get to this level to show that more black coaches can coach. Again, there was, the last I checked, it was 4. And then, shout out to Colorado. They've had, I think, 3 straight black head coaches, and Carl Durrell was fired. And to bring in Deion is impressive. And they had Mel Tucker before that. So they have been progressive in allowing, black men to be able to lead their program and be the face of their program to other young men. And that is something to applaud. Colorado's not new to this game. However, with Deion, he is representing that, and hopefully moving that forward. Like growing up, and it's interesting because we've really gone backwards in this, because growing up, like I had people like Denny Green, Art Shell, Ray Rhodes, like it seemed like we had coaches then, and that was more at an NFL level, and we've really kind of regressed a little bit. And so it does matter. And for anybody that wants to ask me that in the comments or whatever, you want to have a conversation, let's do it. Because this isn't to say, we're better. It's to show that we're qualified. It's to show that, the discrepancy is real. And for whatever reason, people are not getting the same opportunities as others. And so now that he's in this boat, it does matter. It is important to show that we can build programs, we can lead programs, we can do everything, that anybody else can. That is critical, and I'm rooting for him just off of that alone. But I'm also not looking at him as a savior for all Black coaches across. I'm just as excited for Deion Sanders as I am for my guy Stan Drayton over at Temple.
Yep.
There's no difference. Okay, so where I'm looking to see is is Deion going to do this and adjust, right? Because one of the fastest ways to build programs is in the trenches. He can't just go and get corners and skilled players and get Shador in there running quarterback. He gonna have to get himself some linemen, some
That's what he said
literal
in his interview.
buffaloes.
He said the difference between Jackson State and Alabama is the big men in between the lines. You can't teach size. I cannot try and get after a quarterback that has 5'6", 300-pound linemen in front of him when I got dudes who are 6'2", 215. It's just not going to happen. And so being able to have that recruiting power to get the big body guys to have the workhorses on both sides of the line, that's where he's that like skill position. Obviously, you can get some outliers at the top of the D1 level, but for the most part, it's not a lot of difference between a D1 wide receiver and a D2 wide receiver, or a D1 running back and like an FCS running back. It's just not as vast as people would think.
As it is with the guys of I completely agree, and I think, to the point about, again, people have brought to my attention, hey, with the Texas coaches, he's going to recruit Texas and things of that. We both live here in the state of Texas.
Yeah.
Yes, this is a talent-rich area. Yes, there's a high school Texas football coaches coalition and whatnot. And while, yes, Deion has to be respectful of those coaches and take care of their kids, I'm tired of this kiss the ring culture, and I'm tired of this bend the knee culture, because this stuff only gets amplified when there's a Black coach involved. I've seen that. And B, NIL and access, these kids are gonna want to play for Prime, whether you like it or not. Mm-hmm. So some of these coaches, not all of them, but some of these coaches and the UIL as a whole here in the state of Texas needs to get over the Prime Prep stuff from 10 years ago.
That is like, you gotta move on. That is done. Like we have moved on.
Because I'm seeing people hold that crap over his head. So now it's anytime you want to come to my school, you already have the Prime Prep thing in the back of your mind. You already have the UIL fights in the back of your mind. Now you didn't call in all these type of things. Yes, be respectful. You want to recruit these coaches' schools. There's a relationship that has to be had there. But I am tired of the bend the knee crap. I'm tired of the kiss the ring crap. Yeah. And that's happening too much in high school sports right now, and especially amongst the last time I heard all this nonsense was with Charlie Strong when he was at Texas. Yep. Oh, he's not doing this, he's not doing that, he's not but it only seems to come around when certain people are in charge. But
most definitely,
I'm excited for this. Most Deion, definitely. You got to win. Same thing with everybody else. Winning solves all, winning cures all. You got to win, brother.
I have a question for you, being an HBCU alum, and since we saw HBCUs on the map, what is your I feel like the main issue is I think that people have a misconception of exactly what HBCUs, or we'll just mainly focus on the football side of things, of what it's supposed to be. I personally don't believe that, maybe not now, maybe in the future, but I don't believe that right now a Jackson State or just HBCU football in general is supposed to be a final destination spot. It's not an Alabama. It's not a USC or a Texas where it's like this. For example, for a coaching role, like once I get here, I'm staying here until I retire. Especially it seems like it would be a better utilization to really develop players and develop players and develop coaches. But I want to hear from y'all. I want to hear from you being in that community. What is your expectation? Like, what would you like to see HBCUs as? What's your vision of that?
I would like to see it be both. I would like to see it be a blend, because for every Deion Sanders, there was an Eddie Robinson who was an HBCU lifer. Now, he wasn't presented back in the day with the same opportunities, but now you see his son there in the conference. And the Fred McNairs of the world, who those guys, that's what they love. They're there to be. They don't want to be anywhere else. They don't want to be but they also want to have the same resources and the same level of program to uplift the whole conference,
Yeah.
right? Whether it's the SWAC, whether it's where Tennessee State is with Eddie George, like all these schools, Howard, like, you know, when we had Brennan Marion as our offensive coordinator and Coach Prince back, back in a while, like that was also used as a, stepping stone uplift for them.
Mm-hmm.
So it can be both, especially younger coaches that are like, I aspire to be at the highest level. Yes, it absolutely should be a development.
Perfect. That would be literally the perfect place for, like, hey, you know what? I didn't get this assistant offensive coordinator role at an X school. You come over here, all of a sudden you're getting the full offensive coordinator position, or you're going and you're getting the head coaching position after putting in 2, 3, 4, 5 years at an HBCU. Like, it is
the whole
tough.
League has to rise. Though.
That's the main thing.
It can't be one school.
That's my biggest issue. Is like
all
the
schools
whole
have to
thing
rise.
needs to, because if the whole league is up, then yeah, you could stay. That could be a place where you could stay and you could just keep everything in one conference. But when it's just 1 or 2 schools that are really shining, it's like, I was an offensive coordinator at a HBCU. Which one? If that does, like, for example, if I said, I was an offensive coordinator for an SEC school, it doesn't matter what school you were there. That's where the whole league needs to rise. And that's the one thing I didn't like, was just seeing the other HBCU's response to Jackson State. For example, the only other time that I heard something that was about HBCUs but wasn't about Jackson State, at least directly, was when Deion and Alabama State's coach kind of got into it after their game. That can't be the only other time that we're getting coverage. That has to be. It has to be. You know what? I see what you're doing over there. You're confident. You know what? Maybe we should start implementing some of these things. Like, not being afraid to look over on the other side of the fence and be like, you know what? Swallow your pride. They're doing it better than we are. You can come up with all the other excuses of like, oh, well, it's Deion and he got all the money and he's got all the connections. Do it at your level then. Again, it's HBCUs are just, it's a rich community. There's so many multi-millionaires in this community. There's so many thinkers and just literally
people that move this whole world, man. No, seriously. And I think too, we have to kind of, now that there's TV contracts in place, we have more ways to consume content and promote, whether it's streaming services. Like we have legit coverage now. Mm-hmm. At least more coverage.
Yeah.
One way I would like to see that taken advantage of is not just having the same run-of-the-mill commentary and promotion. You have to run the broadcast differently. Let's get into the bands, right? Mm-hmm. Why so many times people come to games HBCU just because the main event is the band, right? Nope. I mentioned Sonic Boom earlier, and the culture, the performances. At the end of the day, especially what you're selling and what you're doing on TV, it's entertainment. So let's give them a different angle. Let's look at this differently. We're seeing models change right now. ESPN with the Manning brothers, Amazon with what they're doing in multiple ways to show the football game. Mm-hmm. What better place to experiment like Deion did and be innovative and be different and showcase our culture than doing that with our experiences? I think that would help attract viewers. I think that people would want to play in a conference like that, but you can't just do everything the same way. Being at a game, HBCU game in person, is a totally different experience than watching it on TV. You miss so much, right? And so just the richness of college culture, I think is just critical, and that's what I'd like to see developed on from what we got exposed to via Deion Sanders.
Most definitely. That I 100% agree with you that he laid the blueprint. Don't crucify him for not seeing the building of Rome. You have the blueprint. Go out there, go follow after his lead. Somebody else needs to, not somebody else,
and be
multiple
yourself.
people need to step up, take that mantle and continue it. It's not, oh, well, it's a savior thing that you said earlier. It's, you got to save yourself. He came in and he did what he was supposed to do. He moved the goalpost. Y'all got to keep moving it too. He's not going to be the one just driving it the whole way.
I don't want somebody coming in there saying, I'm going to be the next Deion. Look, Black folks value more than anything authenticity.
Yep.
Be authentically you, but let's be different and let's be innovative.
Yes.
We're not everybody's like Deion. There's only one Deion Sanders. There's only one.
So and if you try and be like him, we'll spot it out.
Right. And it's fake. And and you know how we are. Yep. But we can't say that the blueprint is be Deion Sanders. The blueprint is the creativity, the innovation, the commitment to resources, and doing what it takes to showcase your people, your program, your kids. That's the point.
That is
so I want to make sure that is emphasized. Man, thank you for doing this with me.
Most definitely. I
really appreciate it.
Always glad to chop it up with you, man.
Absolutely, brother. Absolutely. Yep. SharpeSports. Everybody knows Marcus over at SharpeSports. He's the GOAT. You know, what he does on YouTube. Guy. Go subscribe. SharpeSports on YouTube, all social media platforms. Quite frankly, we're so grateful to have him on the show today. As well as, please, check out Last Stand Hats, laststandhats.com/fanatic, the official sponsor of Fanatic Perspective. Hit the link below. Fanatic 10% off at checkout. Y'all see the hat gear we got. Hat gang up top. We got more schools coming, but I'm so grateful just to be on here to chop it up with my friend Marcus. Thank you so much for joining.
Most definitely. Thank you for reaching out, and I hope you have a blessed rest of your day.
Absolutely. Peace, everybody.
Yep.